Okay, so I had something happened to me when I was 16 and a half. I had an onset of severe anxiety and depression that then became chronic and became the backdrop to my life for the next 30 years. Um, now, I, I just, spent those 30 years trying to figure out what had happened through all sorts of lenses, looking at it through many different lenses. And I really didn't figure it out until 4 months ago when I made this discovery that it's to do with my eyes. So there's something called eye dominance, which is a bit like left and right handedness. People are left or right eyed. Um, in my case, I'm left eye dominant naturally. Um, what I found is if I can artificially force myself to become right eye dominant, then the depression and anxiety lift completely. Just they're gone as a backdrop, right? I still have normal emotional palette of feelings that include all the emotion, like nervousness, fear. These are all natural, normal things, but they are not a chronic backdrop. Um, so anyway, that's what happened. And 4 months ago, I made this discovery uh, while with an eye patch, basically by patching my eyes. I was working on something else to do with my vision, and I realized that patching my left eye, um, forcing me to use only the right eye, alleviated the symptoms of anxiety and depression completely. And patching the right eye did not do the same. It made it worse because I was relying fully on the left eye. So what I subsequently discovered is that you can use a contact lens to blur the left eye. So I normally have 20/20 vision in both eyes. So I don't wear glasses or contact lenses. But if I put a contact lens on the left eye, it creates a blurred vision in the left eye. It's a quite strong contact lens. In my case, I'm using a minus 9.5 diopter. For people with severe short-sightedness, it blurs the left eye image, so the brain switches to using the right because the right's the one that can still see things clearly. Now, as long as I have that contact lens in, I don't have any of these symptoms of anxiety and depression. The downside is that I have a blurred vision in the left eye, which means that when I'm looking around in my visual field, there's a sort of, it's kind of like clear interspersed with blur, but I can still function normally because I'm basically using the right eye's input. The brain is preferentially sort of utilizing the right eye's input. So I can still read, I can drive, I even have some level of depth perception, which normally, it requires two eyes to have depth perception. I still have some of that. It's not as good as it would be without the contact lens, but it's still reasonable. It's still pretty good depth perception. I can still play sports and things like that. So yeah, so it's not like, so there is a side effect of having to wear this contact lens. Now I wear daily contact lenses, take them out at night, dispose them, and put a new one in the next morning. It means I don't have to wear an eye patch all the time, which is a big improvement. But really the main thing is just that it alleviates the anxiety and depression. And for anyone who's suffered with that, they know what a big deal that is. I think of it as emotional chronic pain. So people who have physical chronic pain, would be willing to do almost anything to alleviate that. If you have emotional chronic pain, it's similar. It's just such a blight on your life. Now, there are various possible explanations for this, but the interesting thing is I couldn't find anything really online about this as a common phenomenon. So I'm really interested to see if anyone else has had a similar experience, or has a similar experience if you test it. It's very easy to test. Just cover one eye for a period of time, ideally a few hours if possible, while at home in a safe place, and see, covering one eye or the other eye, see if it alters mood. Um, it, so the important thing is to feel how does it affect your mood, sort of other than with respect to your eyes, because obviously it could be quite disturbing to think I'm going to have to cover an eye or wear a contact lens and blur my vision. That could bother you, and that could be a form of anxiety that you can't separate from the background anxiety. So it took me a while to figure that out, through because I was walking around with an eye patch, and that was a little bit annoying. But yeah, for me it's very clear, and I'd be very interested to find out if anyone else has a similar condition. The more people have a similar condition, the more relevant it is, for others, because it probably means there's a higher incidence of people with this connection. But as I said, I couldn't find anything online. There is some research showing a higher incidence of people with left eye dominance and schizophrenia, in schizophrenics. I couldn't find really anything to do with mood disorders like depression, anxiety, OCD, bipolar, things like that. And also I went to a hospital, saw specialists. I saw an ophthalmologist, an optometrist, and a neuro-ophthalmologist. None of them have heard of this even as a phenomenon. And they weren't sure what to make of it. So, as I said, there really isn't anything out there. That's why I'm doing this video. And I'm really curious to see if anyone else has had a similar experience. So please do share if so. Yeah, I plan to do, just to keep this short, I plan to do a couple of other videos to focus on a few other details, just to kind of to share what I've sort of uncovered in the last 4 months, or discovered in the last 4 months to do with this. There's quite a few interesting, potentially interesting angles, but I'm happy to share that. But I was really just curious to see if this is something that is more widespread. So yeah, appreciate that. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. And please do leave comments. Thank you.